Every year we have a latent print conference, which encompasses all the latent print examiners in Virginia. It's a training seminar, basically. And the imaging people there, one of the vendors brought their imaging system there.
I was highly skeptical of it, had never seen it used in a forensic case. But since we had nothing else other than this very faint print on fabric, we thought it was worth a try.
The new system was called Image Enhancement Technology. Image enhancement uses a computer to identify patterns like those woven into the pillowcase. Once the pattern was identified, it was subtracted from the image, leaving only the ridge patterns of the fingerprint behind. After 10 hours of testing, the fabric pattern was subtracted, and what began to emerge was a partial thumbprint of the killer.
Patients who have sensitive teeth but also want whiter teeth, they have to make a choice, one versus the other. Sensodyne Clinical White provides 2 shades whiter teeth as well as providing 24/7 sensitivity protection. Patients are going to love to see Sensodyne on the shelf.
AI is old news, but departmental intelligence, that's the future. Picture your perfect apartment. Watch this. It's in my head, and now it's up there. Oh, apartments.com, the place to find a place. Oh,
Here's to getting better with age.
Cheers to feeding these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Now available Boost Max.
My wife Gina was born to be a chef. Exploring new foods is her passion. But diabetes started to take that all away. Then Gina got Dexcom G7. Now she can see how food affects her sugar levels in real time. With Dexcom G7, she doesn't have to choose between the foods that she loves and her health. Can't wait to see what she creates next. You know it's gonna be good.
I'm into comedy. I'm also into flambéing. What I'm not into is heartburn. That's why I take Voquezna. Here in Keenan's stomach, Voquezna can kick some acid and relieve heartburn related to non-erosive GERD. Voquezna is the first and only FDA-approved treatment of its kind. And it heals erosive esophagitis known as erosive GERD. Ooh la la. 93% of adults with erosive GERD were healed by 2 months. Of those healed, 79% stayed healed. Plus, Voquezna can provide heartburn-free days and nights. Other serious stomach conditions may exist. Don't take if allergic to Voquezna or while on Rilpivirine. Serious allergic reactions include trouble breathing, rash, itching, and swelling of face, lips, tongue, or throat. Serious side effects may include kidney problems, intestinal infection, fractures, life-threatening skin reactions, low B12 or magnesium levels, and stomach growths. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions, medications, and if you have diarrhea, persistent stomach pain or fever, decreased or bloody urine, seizures, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, jitteriness, chills, shortness of breath, muscle aches or weakness, spasms of hands, feet, or voice. Voquezna can help kick some acid, and so can you. Ask your doctor about Voquezna.
Advil Targeted Relief. The only topical pain reliever with 4 powerful pain-fighting ingredients that start working on contact to target tough pain at the source for up to 8 hours of powerful relief. Advil Targeted Relief.
Hello, passengers. This is your pilot speaking.
Yes! Thank you so much for having me. It's very important to get a local guide. Is it Javier Bardem?
Yeah.
I was forced to be here. How do I look in person?
I'm Alex.
Oh my God! Look at the top!
Investigators knew that they had to identify the fingerprint on the pillowcase in order to solve Dawn Bruce's murder. The primary suspect in this case was one of Dawn's neighbors, Robert Knight, who had a history of drug abuse. Knight said he had an alibi. that he was with his girlfriend on the night of the murder. But his girlfriend said Knight wasn't with her for the entire evening.
The evidence indicated the crime occurred about between 3 and 4 roughly that Saturday morning. He claimed to be with his girlfriend all night, but his girlfriend said no, he was not with me for about that period of time between 3 and 4.
The fingerprints on file for Robert Knight did not have enough ridge detail to determine if they matched the print on the pillowcase. Knight voluntarily gave a second set of prints, but again, there was not enough ridge detail to make a comparison.
Each time that we would show our presence around him, he got a little bit more standoffish and not as cooperative, and accused us of harassing him. And he's changed entirely his personality and his willingness to help. He did not want us to come around anymore.
Now the prosecution was in a difficult position. If they could not identify the fingerprint as Knight's, the defense attorney would use that against the prosecution at a trial.
The defense attorneys would have said, whose fingerprint is it? We don't know. We'll never know. And that fingerprint is a killer, and it's not his fingerprint, or can't be proved to be his fingerprint. So in our line of work, you really need to answer all the questions. And if you don't, the defense attorney asks those questions in closing arguments.
But prosecutors gambled. They arrested Knight for Dawn's murder, pinning their hopes on the new fingerprint technology and the scientist's ability to match Knight's fingerprints. After Knight's arrest, Norm Tiller kept a close eye on the technique police used to fingerprint him, making certain that each finger was carefully rolled from nail to nail for the clearest set of prints possible.
As soon as I saw a good, suitable roll print, I took that straight back to my office and began that examination.
But Tiller did not rush to judgment. He took his time. After 1 month of analysis and retesting, Norm Tiller found what he was looking for. The print on the pillowcase was a left thumbprint. It matched the outside of Robert Knight's left thumb.
I spent additional time doing comparison work and just analyzing the print from every angle, so to speak, before we actually effected the identification. And even then, I had another examiner go behind me and take a look at everything that I had done to make sure there were no errors made in the process.
But there was one more hurdle. The image enhancement technology was so new, it had never been accepted as evidence in court.
I was concerned at that point in time that the evidence may not be accepted within the scientific community as good science.
A hearing was held to determine whether forensic evidence from this new fingerprinting technology should be admitted. The defense argued that it was hocus-pocus technology which manipulated and changed the image of the fingerprint. Pam Ringer was the expert who testified for the prosecution, explaining that the human eye can distinguish between 16 and 32 shades of gray, but a computer can distinguish 256 shades. Ringer said the image enhancement technology simply eliminated the fabric patterns, then made the dark areas of the fingerprint darker and the light areas between the ridges lighter.
If somebody as dumb as I am could understand this when I got done with her over the course of the day, and doing some studying afterwards, I think the explanation becomes one that anyone can understand.
This imaging enhancement doesn't change the data at all. What we had was a photograph of the fingerprint. And Pam Ringer said, I went ahead and did it that day on March the 27th. I could do it again today. I can show you, I can replicate it 100 times if I need to.
She did it in stages. She took first the pattern out, then she took the weave out. And as you watch it, you can see the print didn't change. The print didn't move. The lines of the lands and grooves of the print didn't change at all. And I think that graphically was the best persuader for Judge Culp in the case.
The judge was convinced. He did not believe that the computer enhancements altered the bloody fingerprint. A legal precedent had been set. But prosecutors wanted more than the fingerprint before heading to trial.
One by one. All new 24 and 24. Last chef standing. Sunday night at 8 on Food Network.
We asked people who said they've had Domino's stuffed crust pizza before to compare it to our new stuffed crust.
That's better than the one they have currently.
Only Domino's has never had stuffed crust before.
Are you serious?
Until now. Introducing Domino's new and first ever stuffed crust pizza. Try one for the first time tonight.
This is phenomenal.
Stay ahead of your child's moderate to severe eczema with Dupixent as they welcome the feeling of touch with clear skin and less itch. The #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists and allergists helps heal their skin from within. Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain, vision changes, or blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma or other medicines without talking to your doctor. Ask your child's doctor about Dupixent.
The new bike is officially protected by America's #1 motorcycle insurer. You can now safely go wherever the wind takes us. That's right. It was one of those books that smelled bad, but in a good way, you know?
Oh, didn't think this through, did you?
Nope. You go without me. The owner and I aren't on speaking terms. Apparently the refills are limited. It's not okay.
Food is Gina's passion, but diabetes threatened to take that all away. With Descom G7, Gina learned how different foods affect her sugar levels in real time, so she doesn't have to choose between the foods that she loves and her health.
It started. It's the side hug. Tween milestones like this may start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own, but for others, it can cause certain cancers later in life. Now, as the dad cab, it's my cue to help protect them.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination.
Sadly, windshield chips can turn into windshield cracks. But at least you can go to SafeLight.com and schedule a fix in minutes.
Sweet.
SafeLight can come to you for free. And our highly trained techs can replace your windshield right at your home.
SafeLight, SafeLight.
Don't wait. Go to SafeLight.com and schedule now.
SafeLight repair, SafeLight replace.
Great pair of lungs. Shame about your swollen gums. You need parodontax, clinically proven to help reverse all signs of early gum disease. The gum experts.
Robert Douglas Knight was charged with the capital murder of 22-year-old Dawn Bruce. But police still didn't have the murder weapon. A faint fingerprint left on a flimsy pillowcase would be considered firm evidence in court, and prosecutors soon had a lead on the murder weapon. 6 months after the murder, a maintenance man working in Knight's old apartment discovered something behind an access panel in Knight's old bedroom.
I don't know what possessed him to do that. I think there was a plumbing problem that caused him to take it off. When he did, he looked in and found a hunting knife in a sheath.
In the forensics lab, scientists performed a simple test to determine if this was the weapon used in the murder. Using photographic overlays, the pattern of the knife was compared to the knife impressions found on Dawn Bruce's pillowcase. They matched. The final piece of evidence was the DNA testing of the semen found at the crime scene. It matched the DNA profile of Robert Knight. Prosecutors believe that Dawn Bruce arrived home from work around 1 a.m. and went right to bed. Sometime around 4 o'clock, Robert Knight went to the front window of Dawn's apartment, pried it open, and crept upstairs. He stabbed Dawn in the heart, then sexually assaulted her as she bled to death. But Knight made mistakes. He wiped the knife on the pillowcase, leaving the impression of the murder weapon later matched to the knife found in Knight's apartment. He also left a partial bloody fingerprint on the pillowcase, matched with the latest in computer technology. Facing an overwhelming amount of physical evidence, and in an effort to avoid the death penalty, Robert Douglas Knight pled guilty. He was sentenced to 4 life terms in prison.
I'm very disappointed that Robert Knight didn't get the death penalty. I think he deserved the death penalty. I think the forensic science played a major part in solving the case. Some cases are solved just by pure interviewing without any evidence, and they are solved, but I think this is one of those cases that would not have been solved had it not been for the forensic evidence that was at the scene.
When we arrested Knight, we had a bare circumstantial case. That's all we had. And it went to being the absolutely strongest forensic case I've ever prosecuted in 24 years.
The only thing that stands out with me personally is that I believe Robert Knight deserved and should have received the death penalty. I don't believe he deserves to be breathing, eating, sleeping, laughing, whatever emotions he may experience. I know one of these days he'll probably be walking the street again, but it will be a long time, and even though justice was served, I think he was deserving of the death penalty.
I told my other daughter one day when we were talking about life and about her plans for family, when she said that she didn't think she was going to have children because she didn't know that she could go through what I had gone through. And I told her if I knew ahead of time that Dawn was going to be murdered, I would still have had Dawn because she brought such joy to us as her family. Not to ever not have children for fear of loss, because life is not a guarantee.
In 1981, 6-year-old Cassie Hansen disappeared from an evening church service without a trace. There were no eyewitnesses. The only clue was a strand of very rare and very unusual hair. It was the most telling physical evidence police had. On a cold November night in 1981, the Hansen family headed to a service at Jehovah Evangelical Lutheran Church near St. Paul, Minnesota. Ellen Hansen and her 2 daughters, Cassie and Vanessa, had been looking forward to family night at the church. Bill, the children's father, had another commitment and wasn't able to go with them.
It is etched in my memory. We had supper, and then the girls got in the car, Ellen was driving, and they were in the garage, and Cassie was sitting in the passenger seat of the car, and she was blowing kisses at me through the window, waving goodbye.
Ellen, Cassie, and Vanessa arrived at the church early. The girls went downstairs to the children's area where Sunday school classes usually were held. Cassie told her mother she had to go to the bathroom and said she'd be right back.
A few minutes later, I followed her, and she wasn't around anywhere. So I went upstairs, went outside, yelled her name a couple times.
I got the phone call from Ellen, right away I knew something was definitely wrong, because you know your child, and you know that she would just not walk away from something like that.
When Cassie couldn't be found anywhere in the church, the St. Paul police were called to the scene. Within an hour, Cassie's photograph was distributed to local newspapers and television stations. The search lasted throughout the night.
We stayed up all night long. People came all night long to help. There were a couple hundred people.
Police went door to door in the neighborhood, and volunteers made hundreds of telephone calls, all without success. Early the next morning, police made the gruesome discovery.
St. Paul police did find a body. Search every
Cassie Hansen's body was found in a dumpster behind an auto repair shop just 3 miles from the church. This undercover officer was the first policeman on the scene.
It truly incensed the community. It incensed a lot of police officers. It was as if he seemed to be treating her as a piece of trash.
Cassie's leather shoes, minus the buckles, were found in 2 separate locations not far from the dumpster. The autopsy revealed signs of sexual assault. Semen found on her dress revealed the perpetrator had type O blood, and some foreign hairs also were found. The cause of death was strangulation with a 2.5-inch belt. Abrasions on Cassie's chest indicated another belt had been used as a restraint. A member of the church recalled seeing a white man, 50 to 60 years old, with dark glasses and white hair in the vicinity of the church bathrooms on the night of the abduction. It wasn't much, but it was the only lead investigators had.
The freaking shelter is on fire. I'm homeless.
Naked and Afraid. New survivors, new stories. Sunday on Discovery and stream next day on Discovery Plus.
It started. It's the side hug. Tween milestones like this may start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own, but for others, it can cause certain cancers later in life. Now, as the dad cab, it's my cue to help protect them.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination.
Your new bike is officially protected by America's #1 motorcycle insured. You can now safely go wherever the wind takes us.
That's right.
It was one of those books that smelled bad, but in a good way, you know?
No.
Didn't think this through, did you?
Nope. You go without me. The owner and I aren't on speaking terms. Apparently the refills are limited.
Okay.
It's not okay.
You founded your kayak company because you love the ocean, not spreadsheets. We need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, candidates can find it easier, so you can hire easier. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Great pair of lungs, shave about your swollen gums. You need parodontax, clinically proven to help reverse all signs of early gum disease. The gum experts.
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Skyresi.
Now I'm back in the picture. Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks with Skyresi, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements. Skyresi helped visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. And with Skyresi, many were in remission at 12 weeks. At 1 year and even at 3 years.
Don't use it allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's.
Now's the time to take control of your Crohn's. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease.
Culinary sabotage is and surviving insanity.
Not being able to use knives is horrible. I'll sabotage my own mother if I need to.
Series premiere, Cutthroat Kitchen, Knives Out, next Tuesday night at 9 on Food Network.
After Cassie Hansen's murder, police attempted to locate all past sex offenders in the Minneapolis-St. Paul areas.
We had a total of 107 people who had been identified by the community or through police investigation being possible suspects. Of those 107 individuals, 57 of them either lived or worked in the area where the little girl was abducted from.
Police interrogated many of these individuals, and soon they not only had a suspect, but also a confession.
Vondell Quanley, a woman from Texas who had claimed to have killed Cassie Hansen. And when she came to the attention of St. Paul police and allegedly made a confession, it turned out that what she did was read details in the paper and then recite them. She said, I claimed I acted alone. Well, it was quite obvious that she couldn't generate seminal fluid and that this was a sham and a fraud.
Police found 2 other witnesses who saw a white male carrying a motionless child near the auto body shop dumpster on the night of the murder. This was consistent with the description given by the church member who saw an elderly man near the church bathrooms. With no other leads, police contacted the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit in Washington, D.C. These profilers analyzed the background and behavior of criminals who have committed similar crimes and make recommendations about the type of individual who should be considered a suspect. Former Agent John Douglas created the behavioral profile of Cassie Hansen's killer for the St. Paul police. Douglas said that the killer would be a white male, a loner with a poor self-image who probably had a history of child sex offenses. Douglas also predicted that the man would frequent parks where children played. He would be nocturnal and drive around at night. After the murder, he wouldn't flee the area. He would feel what he had done was justified. He may have kept a souvenir from the crime. Most important, he would be obsessed with the murder and need to talk about it. One of the tips called into police was from Dorothy Noga, a massage parlor employee. She told police that one of her customers, a taxi cab driver, Stuart Knowlton, had been in her massage parlor the day after Cassie Hansen's murder.
By the way, Dorothy, if anybody asks, tell them I was in here last night too.
Which made her suspicious. During police questioning, Knowlton denied he was involved in any way.
I have no words for any little girl. Listen, I'm trying to tell you this. I feel sorry for that little girl, for her family. But I did not kill her. I didn't know she was missing. Is it possible you killed her and you forgot? No, sir. I did not kill her.
Knowlton also claimed to have an alibi. He said he was on duty driving his taxi cab on the night of the murder. If his alibi checked out, police had hit a dead end.
We asked people who said they've had Domino's stuffed crust pizza before to compare it to our new stuffed crust.
That's better than the one they have currently.
Only Domino's has never had stuffed crust before.
Are you serious?
Until now. Introducing Domino's new and first ever stuffed crust pizza. Try one for the first time tonight.
This is phenomenal.
Big Brawny has 3 plies. It's new and it's stronger than Bounty. Some of the strongest.
Gotta have a lucky charm when you ride, right? Make you feel safe and protected out there.
That's why I never leave home without a photo of the little ones.
Bracelet for my husband. Lucky rabbit's foot.
Lucky rabbit named Scoot. It's Swedish.
That's a whole rabbit.
Named Scoot.
Well, there's really no need for a lucky charm when you ride.
Not when America's #1 motorcycle insurance got your back.
We're just gonna ignore the fact that Carl has a rabbit.
Named Scoot.
For more than a decade, Farsiga has been trusted again and again and again. Ask your doctor about Farsiga.
Apartments.com gives landlords the tools to manage your rentals with ease. It's like having a whole team of yous.
Hey, Jim. Keep generating that lease. I'm sorry, what's in the microwave?
Apartments.com, the place to list a place.
Touch can mean so many things, even for children with moderate to severe eczema. Touch can stir a sense of wonder, can make a ride go smoothly, and make a smile stretch ear to ear. Dupixent can help your child stay ahead of eczema with clearer skin and noticeably less itch. When a touch is all in good fun, Dupixent helps block a key source of inflammation inside the body that can cause eczema to help heal your child's skin from within. Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain, vision changes, or blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma or other medicines without talking to your doctor. Dupixent, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists and allergists. Help your child feel the heal and see the difference. Reach out to your child's eczema specialist today.
Your brain theory, rush hour. Some allergy medications can make you drowsy, but Allegra is different. Traffic jam? We got this. See, on time.
Allegra is fast 24-hour allergy relief with 0% brain interference. It's a no-brainer.
Introducing Stogo, the only apparel with adjustable medical-grade support, engineered with high-strength cables that reinforce the body, designed to help you overcome injuries, minimize pain, and regain the confidence to get back out there. Learn more at Stogo.com.
Grant and I used to work on this together. I've never seen a man love something so much. And when I'm gone, I want you out. Seriously?
Doesn't count. What you need is a will. Luckily, Trust and Will makes it easy. For as low as $199, you can quickly create a state-specific, legally valid document that actually counts. 10 and 2, boss. Start your will at trustandwill.com and make it count.
3 months passed since Cassie Hansen's murder, and police finally had a suspect in 57-year-old taxicab driver Stuart Knowlton. But Knowlton had an alibi. He said he was working on the night of the murder. In the back alley underground of massage parlors, it's not unusual for clients to confess their most perverse sexual fantasies, and sometimes their secrets. Masseuse Dorothy Noga had many clients who confided in her. Knowlton was one of them. He asked Dorothy to say he was at the massage parlor on the night of Cassie Hansen's murder. Noga went to the police and offered to tape record her conversations with Knowlton, but police declined her offer as too dangerous. Janice Redman also was familiar with Stuart Knowlton. Miss Redman was head of St. Paul's Public Housing Office. 8 months before Cassie Hansen's murder, a resident filed a formal complaint against Stuart Knowlton, alleging he made sexual advances towards some of the children.
I can't remember anyone being as killing as he was.
Redman made the same offer to police that Dorothy Noga had, to conceal a wire on her body and talk to Stuart Knowlton about the murder of little Cassie Hansen. This time, police accepted. When Janice Redman met with Knowlton, she asked if he had been following news reports about Cassie's murder. Knowlton admitted he had. Then he made a critical mistake. He said that Cassie had been beaten about the face. This fact had not been released to the public. Judge Thomas Poach, who prosecuted this case, said this was their first breakthrough.
That was crucial and that was very critical because no one had revealed to the press, to the media, to anyone that she'd been beaten. And only the killer could have known that. Meanwhile, we didn't have any witnesses. It was entirely a circumstantial case.
As police prepared to close in, Stuart Knowlton was crossing a street in downtown St. Paul. He was hit by a car and seriously injured. He was rushed to a hospital where his leg was amputated below the knee.
It just seemed to me that my intervention was there and that the children were going to be protected and that he would not be able to grab another child.
When police checked Knowlton's alibi, they discovered that on the night of the murder, he had not turned in his logbook. When questioned, Knowlton said his logbook was stolen. Despite police warnings, the masseuse Dorothy Noga called Stuart Knowlton on her own. She, too, asked Knowlton if he'd been following the news reports of Cassie Hansen's murder.
She was a hero for us. She told us that during one of these conversations that he admitted to her that he had killed a little girl, that he had in fact had killed Cassie. Dorothy Noga agreed and wanted to help in the case and stated that she would be willing to talk to him and to tape these conversations. And she did this hours on end.
But he wouldn't repeat the confession on tape. Later, when Dorothy Noga left her massage parlor, a man jumped out of the darkness and slashed her throat. He ran away, leaving her for dead.
I proceeded to the hospital. Her throat had been slit. Her blood pressure was down to 0. They were certain she was going to die.
We don't expect our whole run to be sunshine and rainbows and start to respond.
Knicks, Celtics, Nuggets, Thunder. Game 2. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30. NBA playoffs presented by Google with round 2 coverage presented by Wingstop on TNT.
Gotta squish it. It's squishy.
That's good. Yeah, but I wish you could lose more often.
More often?
Oh.
Asthma. Does it have you missing out on what you love, with who you love? It's time to get back out there with Fasenra. Fasenra is an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma that is taken once every 8 weeks and can also be taken conveniently at home. Fasenra helps prevent asthma attacks. Most patients did not have an attack in the first year. Fasenra is proven to help you breathe better so you can get back to doing day-to-day activities. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Get back to better breathing. Get back to what you've missed. Ask your doctor about Fasenra, the only asthma treatment taken once every 8 weeks. If you can't afford your medication, AstraZeneca may be able to help.
Progressive makes it easy to see if you can save money with a commercial auto quote online, so you can get back to your monster to-do list.
Super helpful.
See if you can save money at progressivecommercial.com.
The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not under control. But now, I have Rinvoq. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that reduces the itch and helps clear the rash of eczema fast. Some taking Rinvoq felt significant itch relief as early as 2 days, and some achieved dramatic skin clearance as early as 2 weeks. Many saw clear or almost clear skin.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin. Serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events. Infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Disrupt the itch and rash of eczema. Talk to your dermatologist about Rinvoq.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
If you're an executive, this shirt is a must-have in your closet.
I was tired of floppy collars and shirts with sweat stains, so I got this shirt I saw on TV, and now I don't have to worry about any of that. I got it shipped in no time, and I switched from regular polos to this immediately. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. I got rid of so many problems by upgrading to this. No dry cleaning needed anymore, and I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collars stay stiff all day. Get 20% off using code TV at collarsandco.com.
Have a great trip.
Do you think they'll be okay?
Nothing's gonna happen. And if it did, your parents will take care of the kids. Doesn't count. What you need is a will. Something you can sign and make official. Get started at trustandwill.com and make it count.
Dorothy Noga recovered from her attack. In an attempt to recall the events surrounding her assault, Dorothy Noga underwent hypnosis. Through hypnosis, Dorothy Noga remembered the man who stabbed her that night and left her for dead. She alleged it was Stuart Knowlton, who attacked her just hours after the telephone conversation in which he confessed to the murder of Cassie Hansen.
Straight on you, right down my neck, and I pulled it out. Well then, I know, when I turn my head like that, and he said, I'll teach you not to talk, and then he cut it and he slid it all the way down.
Minnesota state law prohibits testimony from individuals with hypnotically enhanced recollection, so no charges were filed for this incident. Scientists investigating Cassie Hansen's murder had a semen sample which showed the perpetrator's blood was type O. In 1983, DNA testing was still years away from widespread use in criminal cases. Stuart Knowlton had type O blood, but so did 37% of the population. So police obtained a hair sample from Stuart Knowlton and sent it along with Cassie Hansen's clothing to the FBI Forensic Laboratory in Washington, D.C. There, the technicians used a spatula to scrape loose hairs and fibers from Cassie's clothing. Under a stereo microscope, those hairs and fibers were analyzed and compared to hairs taken from Stuart Knowlton. The comparison is subjective. Even if the specimens look similar, comparing hair samples is not like matching fingerprints. Al Robillard was in charge of the FBI's hair and fiber unit at the time.
Hair comparisons, it's not a means of absolute personal identification. Because I say that the hair matches an individual or has the same microscopic characteristics as that individual's hairs, does not absolutely mean it came from him. The reason for that is hairs are not so unique that they allow you to reach an absolute conclusion. It's possible that two hairs that are so nearly alike they can't be distinguished microscopically could come from two separate individuals.
But in this case, Robillard made an interesting discovery. He found a hair on Cassie Hansen's clothing that was so unique, he had never seen it before, nor has he seen it since.
A hair disease called pili ungulati commonly that's referred to as either ringed hair or banded hair. So I thought this was rather significant.
Pili annulati is a hair shaft abnormality, which is very rare, and medical experts don't know what causes it. When Robillard analyzed Stuart Knowlton's hair, he discovered that it showed signs of the same condition, Pili annulati.
No doubt about it, thousands of hairs over the course of my career. And I only saw this, or was I able to put two hairs, associate a victim to a suspect, not only through the microscopic characteristics, but also through a disease of the hair.
With this discovery, Stuart Knowlton was arrested and charged with Cassie Hansen's murder. Dorothy Noga's testimony held the courtroom spectators spellbound. She told the jury what Knowlton said during a telephone call just hours before she was attacked. Knowlton said he was driving his taxi cab in the vicinity of the Jehovah Evangelical Lutheran Church when he needed to use the bathroom. Knowlton ran into Cassie Hansen.
Hi, how are you?
He asked her if she wanted to play a game.
What kind of game?
When he took her outside to his taxi, she became frightened and started to scream. In the taxi, when Cassie was struggling to get away, Knowlton strangled her with his belt. Later, he put her body in a dumpster a few miles away. He took the buckle off her shoes, possibly as a trophy, and dropped the shoes in two different locations.
Stuart has shoe fetish. When he talked about shoes at first, it meant nothing to me. In retrospect, it was probably more significant than I thought.
The description of Stuart Knowlton's rare hair condition convinced the jury that the banded hair found on Cassie Hansen's clothing came from Stuart Knowlton.
The evidence from the FBI laboratory was the absolutely critical one piece of evidence that was absolutely essential to tying him in and to being able to get a conviction of Stuart Knowlton.
Stuart Knowlton was found guilty of first-degree murder and second-degree misconduct and sentenced to life in prison. To this day, the Hansen family visits Cassie's grave and hope that Cassie's death might serve as a warning to others. The Hansens founded an organization called Save Cassie's Friends, which uses print and video materials to heighten awareness that child abduction can happen anytime, anywhere. Breathtaking beaches and beautiful bodies explain why Southern California is often the first choice for motion picture and still photographers. In 1995, Linda Sobek, a busy model with a growing reputation, vanished on her way to a photo shoot. Linda's photographic images helped launch her career and would also solve the mystery of her disappearance. Hermosa Beach, California is just 15 miles south of downtown Los Angeles. Linda Sobek, a 27-year-old blonde model and actress, lived right off the boardwalk. She was a cheerleader for the Los Angeles Raiders football team and was a popular bikini, lingerie, and calendar model. She also aspired to be an actress. On Thursday morning, November 16, 1995, Linda was paged for a last-minute photo shoot. Linda grabbed some clothes, left a message with her mother that she'd call later, and headed off. She was never seen or heard from again.
hey, don't worry, you know, Linda's got things to do. She's out working. She probably just took off and was doing something. And Mom kept saying, no, I know something else is wrong.
Later that day, Linda had an audition for the Married with Children television series, but she failed to show up.
Anyone that knew Linda knew there's no way she would ever have missed that interview or that audition. And that really was a signal to her parents to start an intensive search.
The family had been distributing numerous flyers, I think like 53,000 flyers with a $20,000 reward.
I had one of her address books, and I just started making phone calls to all of the girls.
Apparently, Linda had broken some of her own rules about modeling assignments. No one knew where she was or the name of the photographer. Since she took this assignment outside of her modeling agency, they had no information either. 2 days later, in a trash bin, a worker in the Angeles National Forest found some pictures of a beautiful woman. He took them home because they were so well done.
And he was watching television and he saw the TV coverage of the Sobek investigation.
When the man realized the photos were of the model reported missing, he immediately called police. 2 years earlier, just a short distance away, the skeletal remains of another blonde model, 20-year-old Kimberly Pandelios, were discovered. Like Linda, Kim had been called at the last minute for a modeling assignment with an unknown photographer. But the thought that Linda was somewhere in the Angeles National Forest was daunting. It's an area approximately 1,000 square miles, about the size of the state of Rhode Island. As the days passed, investigators suspected foul play.
For more than a decade, Farxiga has been trusted again and again and again. Ask your doctor about Farxiga.
Gotta have a lucky charm when you ride, right? Make you feel safe and protected out there.
Lucky rabbit's foot.
Lucky rabbit named Scoot.
Well, there's no need for a lucky charm. You know, America's #1 motorcycle insurer's got your back.
That's a whole rabbit. Named Scoot.
At Wayfair, we're game for every style.
Let's play charades. I'll act out my favorite chair. Got it. All right, ready?
Yeah.
This one rocking chair.
Velvet Tucked Chaise Lounger.
This is charades. Loungers are off limits.
Well, there's no rule about adding it to my card.
It's a good deal.
It's Barrel Swivel Chair.
Yes!
Boom!
Wow. Not my first charade.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Dupixent helps people with asthma breathe better. So this is better. That's it. Dupixent's an add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma. Some people felt their asthma symptoms improve in as little as 3 days. Dupixent's not for sudden breathing problems. It helps prevent asthma attacks. Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue or throat swelling, wheezing or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor right away if signs of inflamed blood vessels like rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, brown or dark colored urine, tingling or numbness in limbs. Tell your doctor of new or worsening skin symptoms, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop other treatments without talking to your doctor. You can get more out of your lungs. You can do more with less asthma. And isn't that better? Ask your doctor about Dupixent, the most prescribed biologic in asthma. Also approved as an add-on treatment for adults with COPD that is not well controlled, and with a specific marker of inflammation.
Did you know taking Zysol at night relieves allergies while you sleep? So you wake refreshed for a more productive day. Get 24-hour continuous relief that does not fade. Do Zysol, take Zysol at night.
Introducing Stogo, the only apparel with adjustable medical-grade support, engineered with high-strength cables that reinforce the body, designed to help you overcome injuries, minimize pain, and regain the confidence to get back out there. Learn more at Stogo.com.
Oh, look.
Great blue heron.
Oh, your favorite.
know, when I go, I'd like to leave some money to the local bird conservancy.
Oh, that's a beautiful legacy to leave.
Doesn't count. Generous, but final wishes need to be more finalized. What you need is a will. Luckily, Trust and Will makes it easy to create a legally valid, state-specific document that actually counts. What's that?
That's a duck.
Start your will at trustandwill.com now and make it count.
Welcome to the Outback. It's the perfect stage for a battle royale.
I'm gonna be the last one standing.
Last one standing. The competition returns Sunday, May 18th on Discovery.
A few days after Linda Sobek's disappearance, Charles Rathbun, a commercial freelance photographer, called police with some information. He said he was with Linda at a Denny's restaurant on the morning of her disappearance. He said they discussed her portfolio, and after the meeting, Rathbun said the two went their separate ways. Linda's car was found in the parking lot of the restaurant. Tests on the vehicle found no evidence of foul play. But police were starting to get suspicious. Among the items found in the trash bin in Angeles National Forest, along with Linda's photographs and date book, was a rental agreement for a Lexus sports utility vehicle. The name on the document was Charles Rathbun. Rathbun said the rental agreement probably got mixed up with Linda's portfolio during their meeting. Rathbun shot photographs of the Lexus later that day for Auto Week magazine, and he returned the car the next day. Even though the Lexus had been washed thoroughly inside and out, police found a number of clues. In the back seat was a suspicious red stain. A phenolphthalein test revealed the stain was blood. Further tests showed it was human blood. In the cargo area was a car cover which tested positive not only for blood, but traces of human saliva. With no other leads, investigators wanted to know if the Lexus had been in the Angeles National Forest where Linda's photographs were discovered.
Basically, we put Vaseline on a tire, roll it across poster board, and then use magnetic fingerprint powder to enhance that tire track that's on the poster board.
And it essentially makes a tire print on this board that's indicative of the tire tread that might have been left back at a particular scene.
But finding a tire impression in a forest covering over 1,000 square miles wouldn't be easy. Not surprisingly, Charles Rathbun was interrogated again, and this time he changed his story. Rathbun now said he hired Linda to model for him in the photo shoot with the Lexus sports utility vehicle. Rathbun and Sobek drove to El Mirage, a dry lake bed about 2 hours north of Hermosa Beach. Linda's assignment was to drive the vehicle in tight circles while Rathbun took photographs. Rathbun demonstrated the maneuver while Linda stood by and watched. Rathbun said he lost control of the vehicle and accidentally hit Linda, killing her. According to Rathbun, he panicked, put Linda's body in the vehicle, drove to a deserted location in the Angeles National Forest, and buried the body somewhere there.
He was very vague. He kept saying, I can't remember. He would break into tears and say, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. I don't know where she is exactly, but I can take you there.
The Lexus showed no signs of exterior damage consistent with an accident. Investigators thought Linda might still be alive and pressed Rathbun to lead them to her grave. But the search was unsuccessful.
He's leading him on a wild goose chase. He knew exactly where she was, and he was trying to stall to buy more time, hoping that Linda's body would be decomposed by the time we did find it.
Investigators pushed Rathbun yet again for information, this time touring the forest in a helicopter. After a number of failed attempts, Rathbun finally led them to Linda's body. She was buried next to a tree in a shallow 2-foot grave. The left tire impression of the Lexus was found in the soft sand nearby.
She surprisingly was perfectly preserved. For a 9-day burial, I was not optimistic that we would have a lot of soft tissue left to diagnose exactly what happened, and I was surprised.
A forensic archaeologist was brought in to retain anything of evidentiary value. The autopsy would reveal the true cause of death, whether it was an accident or homicide.
Got one more, Antoine.
With USPS Ground Advantage, it's like you're with us every step of the way. Cool.
Right on time.
Stay in the know from your dock to their door.
For more than a decade, Farsiga has been trusted again and again and again. Ask your doctor about Farsiga.
A Chewy pharmacy order is on the way for Homer, the homebody who only goes outside when nature calls. So Mom uses Chewy to get his flea and tick meds at a great price. Delivered fast, right to their door. For quality meds, for life with pets, there's Chewy.
When you want to feel clean and soft, try new Dial Healthy Hydration Body Wash with skin-friendly ingredients. It deeply cleans and hydrates in one shower for confidence to get closer. Dial up your clean.
I heard if you make a big mess and blow through a paper towel too, the Brawny Man appears. Yeah, right, Sarah. Prove it.
Ronnie 3-ply?
That is real.
Only Brawny has 3 plies. It's new, and it's stronger than Bounty. Some of the strongest.
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Sky Resi.
Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks with Skyrizi, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements. Skyrizi helped visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. And with Skyrizi, many were in remission at 12 weeks, at 1 year, and even at 3 years. Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or UC. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease. Skyrizi is also approved for ulcerative colitis.
Hello, passengers. This is your pilot speaking.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very important to get a local guide.
Is it Javier Bardem?
Yeah, I was forced to be here.
How do I look in person? Amazing.
Linda Sobek's autopsy revealed an enormous amount of information about her death. Except for blood above her right ear, Her body showed no external signs of an automobile injury. Her blood alcohol level was 0.13, well above the state limit for intoxication. She died not from an automobile accident, as Charles Rathbun claimed, but by asphyxiation.
She struggled against it. It caused a hemorrhage in the lungs as well as all in the neck and the eyes, which is typical for somebody who's being asphyxiated against their will. So she was aware, awake, struggling for her life at that time. Asphyxiation is the most common mechanism used in homicidal sexual assault.
And there were other injuries, bruises, a twisted wrist, and ligature marks on her ankles.
That showed that her legs had been forcibly spread apart and held in that position. She struggled against those restraints because there were abrasions up and down her legs indicating a struggle.
And the body appeared to have been washed. She was not wearing makeup, and it appeared that her clothing had been changed before burial.
I call this a girl thing, but I was very troubled with the position of her clothing. The position of her zipper was such that it was all the way up to her neck. And this concerned me because I don't think that's a natural position. Most women wear clothing sort of in the mid-chest region, and this was an unnatural position.
There was also evidence of forcible sodomy. A look into Charles Rathbun's past revealed a man with a mercurial personality, which had cost him a number of freelance projects.
He could be very personal and charming. He could lose his temper and almost go ballistic, throw things around a photo shoot. He could talk to models and be very personable and polite to them, and then go behind the camera and say very derogatory things about them.
A few years earlier in Columbus, Ohio, Charles Rathbun was arrested and charged with the rape of a married co-worker. Rathbun claimed the encounter was consensual, and he was acquitted. The search of Rathbun's home revealed a collection of over 200 guns. Of particular interest was a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol.
When I tested the gun chemically, or I used presumptive blood tests in the examination of the gun, I did detect a positive presumptive test for blood on the breech face surface of that weapon.
Well, we found a lot of evidence from his house and from talking to his friends that he did have a dislike for blondes, and that he did have a dislike for some women in particular, that he referred to Linda as a little bitch and being difficult to work with.
Charles Rathbun was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and sodomy with a foreign object. Rathbun continued to maintain that Linda's death was an accident. He said Linda was drinking that day, and after striking her accidentally with the Lexus, she began kicking and screaming while trying to subdue Linda. Rathbun accidentally suffocated her.
Almost ludicrous to think that she would drink while on a photo shoot, especially when you think that she had an interview with a television program scheduled for later that evening, that she would compromise herself.
Then Rathbun delivered a bombshell. He claimed his sexual encounter with Linda that day wasn't forced at all, that it was consensual. And he claimed to have nude photographs to prove it.
No! The freaking shelter is on fire. I'm homeless.
Naked and Afraid. New survivors, new stories. Sunday on Discovery and spring next day on Discovery Plus.
When you want to feel clean and soft, try new Dial Healthy Hydration Body Wash with skin-friendly ingredients. It deeply cleans and hydrates in one shower for confidence to get closer. Dial up your clean.
Asthma. Does it have you missing out on what you love? Like who you love? Get back to better breathing with Fasenra, an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma taken once every 8 weeks. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Ask your doctor if Fasenra is right for you.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to see the possibilities all around you. At Capella University, you can earn a degree on your own time with our FlexPath learning format.
Gotta have a lucky charm when you ride, right? Make you feel safe and protected out there.
That's why I never leave home without a photo of the little ones.
Bracelet for my husband. Lucky rabbit's foot.
Lucky rabbit named Scoot. It's Swedish.
That's a whole rabbit.
Named Scoot.
Well, there's really no need for a lucky charm when you ride.
Not when America's #1 motorcycle insurance got your back.
We're just gonna ignore the fact that Carl has a rabbit.
Named Scoot.
At U-Haul, we know every family moves at their own pace. That's why we have U-Box.
Is that heavy?
Where you can pack in a day, in a week, in a month. We can store it or ship it. How and when you want it.
Thanks, you've been lifesaver.
Don't want to lift a finger? We got you covered there too. U-Box by U-Haul. Move at your pace. Reserve today at uhaul.com.
Have you had your Hershey's?
Reaching your financial goals can feel impossible. Credit Karma gives you personalized guidance to improve your credit, savings, taxes, and more, so you can find your way to money. Intuit Credit Karma, karma you can count on.
Your home is your happy place until you come back to bad odors. Use Febreze plug-in. It has a microchip that alternates between 2 scents to fight odors and provide freshness for up to 50 days. Try Febreze Plug.
Here's to getting better with age.
Cheers to beating these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Now available Boost Max.
Charles Rathbun claimed that Linda Sobek willingly engaged in sex with him before the automobile accident and had taken photographs of Linda that day which would prove it.
The defendant told his brother that there were some photographs in the desert that would prove his innocence and prove that Linda consented to sexual relations with him. Drew him a map of where to find these rolls of film, and that the defendant's brother Robert Rathbun and his girlfriend drove out up into the mountains and were able to find these 5 rolls of film in the middle of the desert after months of exposure to the sun and the wind and the rain.
Robert Rathbun found 5 rolls of film, but instead of turning them over to police, he developed the film himself. 4 rolls contained G-rated pictures of Linda posing at El Mirage in 2 different outfits. In some of the pictures, Linda's outfit looked disheveled, and there was a hole in her thigh-high stockings, raising questions about whether Linda posed willingly. The 5th roll was water-damaged, double-exposed, and pornographic.
The 5th roll of film was a series of double-exposed pictures, 12 images of a dashboard of a vehicle, and 11 images which were fairly X-rated and pornographic of female genitalia. You could see no head, no face, really no body, just hands in a couple shots and primarily a close-up of female genitalia.
The mystery of this was it was clouded by the water damage, so we're only seeing bits and pieces of these various frames or various photographs.
According to the defense, those pictures indicated that Linda Sobek had engaged in consensual sexual behavior with the defendant on the day that they took the pictures in the vehicle and the day she disappeared and died.
But were the photographs of Linda Sobek? With the help of the sheriff's photo lab and an aerospace company, the pictures were enhanced.
The Aerospace Corporation scanned these images in and assisted me for 3 days, going over pixel by pixel the significance of what we were seeing.
In the background, you could see some of the elements of the automobile's dashboard. But the logo on the steering wheel was not that of a Lexus. It was an Oldsmobile prototype Rathbun photographed on a previous project.
The steering wheel on the question vehicle has an entirely different logo than the Lexus. It has cruise controls that are in the steering wheel that the Lexus vehicle does not have.
But were the nude pictures of Linda? Investigators compared the body of the woman in the photographs to pictures taken during Linda's autopsy.
It was clear that this was not Linda Sobek. And in no way did it show any type of consensual act.
The dress was wrong. The car seat was wrong. The hands that you see within the pictures have a very masculine appearance and don't appear to be consistent with our victim. The list goes on and on.
And prosecutors did not believe Rathbun's accident scenario. They suspected that when Rathbun was taking photographs that day, for Linda, it was a job. To Rathbun, an opportunity. The forensic evidence suggested that Rathbun struck her on the right side of the head, twisted Linda's arm, tied her ankles, and sexually assaulted her, possibly with his gun. He may have forced her to consume the alcohol. The deep bruises on her ankles indicated Linda desperately tried to escape. After the assault, Rathbun caused Linda's death by asphyxiation. Linda's blood and saliva were found on the car cover in the cargo area. And evidence suggests Rathbun washed Linda's face and redressed the body in an effort to conceal what happened. He later disposed of Linda's personal items in a dumpster, but made the mistake of including the Lexus rental agreement in his name. Charles Rathbun was convicted of first-degree murder and sodomy, and was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
The forensic evidence in this case, I think, was all important. Those photographs that he introduced to save him and provide his defense were, in fact, what caused his conviction.
The Sobek family believes that Robert Rathbun should have been charged with evidence tampering for his role in the discovery of the film.
Robert Rathbun admitted on the stand that he had destroyed the map that his brother had drawn and that had led him to these canisters of film. Of its own accord, he has admitted to his own guilt.
Murder mystery dinner shows are often a fun way for amateur sleuths to test their crime-busting skills while enjoying a meal with friends. This is the story of a man killed just hours after leaving the theater. Despite some good acting, the killer was no match for the skills of real-life forensic scientists. St. Michael's, a small waterfront community on the Maryland shore. Spectacular views of the Miles River and Chesapeake Bay provide a relaxing escape from the hectic pace of daily life. On Valentine's Day in 1998, a local resort offered couples the opportunity for a romantic getaway weekend, a chance to unwind, relax, play some golf, tennis, and enjoy one another. The weekend also included an audience participation event, a murder mystery dinner theater production.
The first hour is generally a cocktail hour, and the actors are emoting during this whole hour, and the audience can very readily see who's the bad guy, who hates who, why.
In the audience that night were Steve and Kim Rico from Laurel, Maryland. Steve was a golf course ground superintendent. Kim, a hospital surgical technician. Ironically, the Ricos were seated next to a real-life prosecutor and his date, a probation officer.
Kim and her husband Steve were sitting there, and she jumped right up and said, "Hi, my name's Kim, and this is Steve." And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a good table to sit at." And she's a friendly person.
She was very active in terms of trying to figure out what was going on in the play, talking to various of the actors, trying to get insights into who might be about to commit the murder that was going to happen in the play, and later on who did it.
By all accounts, the evening was a success. Afterwards, Steve Rico went back to the hotel room, and Kim left the resort briefly to run an errand. When she returned at 1:30 in the morning, she saw flames coming from their room. Firefighters pulled 35-year-old Steve Rico from the floor of the hotel room. He was in his pajamas, burned to death. There were empty beer bottles and some cigars found in the hotel room. It appeared that Steve was drinking, reading a Playboy magazine, and smoking a cigar when he fell asleep, with the cigar possibly starting the fire.
I remember just coming back from a walk with my family and getting a phone call from my sister and physically collapsing to the ground, so it was very tough. And when it was an accident, still, it was just hard. There was too many questions that were unanswered, and it really was a shock.
This was viewed as I don't say routine, but it was viewed as a routine smoker's accident. That the smoker fell asleep, that a fire started, and the smoker died. And that's kind of how the police took it and understood it to be.
In addition to his wife, Steve Rico left behind an 8-year-old daughter, Anna.
He was a great man. Cared a lot about his family. The most important things in his life were his daughter and his wife and his job.
Fire investigators noticed a melted plastic soda bottle on the table next to Steve's bed. Investigators called this a pointer because it usually points in the direction of the fire. But other clues in the room would point to an entirely different direction.
Billy is a kid, accused of killing more than 20 men. What if Billy didn't die? When the history books say he did.
An all-new Expedition Files, Wednesday at 9 on Discovery.
With USPS Ground Advantage, it's like you're with us every step of the way.
Right on time.
Stay in the know from your dock to their door.
High heat, wet hair, aka the straightener sizzle. OGX weightless repair mist for non-stop damage protection. OGX.
On Chewy, save 35% and shop all your favorite brands. For any taste, or any diet, at prices you love, delivered fast. For low prices, for life or pets, there's Chewy. Here on the internet, you can pretend to be anything.
Like a medical professional. Or a skilled electrician.
Don't trust the unfiltered internet. Angie has 30 years of experience finding the best pros.
Angie, jobs done well.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Teens share everything, but through certain everyday behaviors, they could also be sharing bacteria that can cause meningitis. Even if your teen has been vaccinated in the past, they could be missing vaccinations recommended by the CDC against certain groups of meningitis. Although uncommon, it's a serious disease. Once symptoms appear, death can occur, sometimes within 24 hours. About 1 in 10 will die. Is your team missing vaccination against certain groups of meningitis? Ask their doctor today.
Oh, Bronny now has 3 plies. That's lit.
Baby, you're 40.
Only Bronny has 3 plies. It's new and it's stronger than Bounty. Some of the strongest.
Sail through the heart of historic cities and unforgettable scenery with Viking. Unpack once and get closer to iconic landmarks, local life, and cultural treasures. Because when you experience Europe on a Viking longship, you'll spend less time getting there and more time being there. Viking, exploring the world in comfort.
3 friends who either went missing or were murdered.
When your kid is missing, it doesn't come with a handbook on what to do.
Bakersfield 3, A Tale of Murder and Motherhood, an ID documentary event, Sunday at 8.
News of Steve Rico's death shocked friends and co-workers who recalled how much Steve was looking forward to the weekend getaway with his wife.
Sometimes it's hard to get past thinking right now of just his last moments, but I try to get past that. And a lot of times, especially when my family gets together, we think of the good times still. And I remember just him, like I said, he was my big brother. I mean, I remember dancing with him at my wedding, and excuse me, I'm always telling me that he'd always be there for me. And there's been a lot of times I needed him, so it's been tough.
Deputy Fire Marshal Michael Mulligan was assigned to investigate the fire. The physical fire damage to the hotel room was minimal. It was so well insulated that the fire didn't have enough oxygen to spread. One cigar was missing from a new pack near the bed. It appeared that the fire started on the bedroom floor where Steve was lounging at the time of the fire.
We eliminated a possible electric source of ignition. The heating and air conditioning units were eliminated, lighting, and there was nothing else at the point of origin.
With the most common causes of the fire eliminated, it looked as if a lit cigar might have been the cause. But investigators could find no evidence of the cigar butt or ashes. Dr. David Fowler, the Deputy Chief Medical Examiner for the state of Maryland, immediately performed the autopsy. Blood tests revealed that Steve had a normal concentration of carbon monoxide in his system, extremely unusual for someone who died while breathing the carbon monoxide produced by a fire. The next step was to examine his airway passages for signs of smoke inhalation.
You have this layer of mucus which aligns the inside of your airway to trap foreign particles, of which soot is one, and it gets stuck onto that and it stays there, and we can find that very easily at the time of the autopsy. I found absolutely no soot. Well, now I have 2 tests which are both telling me exactly the same thing, that he was not breathing at the time of the fire.
To see if it was possible for a lit cigar to start a hotel fire, investigators conducted an experiment.
We got a pillow and a pillowcase, and we did our own burn test. Went out and got a hold of some backwood cigars, lit the cigars and placed them on the pillowcase, and then directly on the pillow, made a crease in the pillow, and we did this repeatedly.
Hotels usually use bed coverings treated with flame-retardant chemicals in order to prevent this very scenario.
At no point could we get the pillow case or the bedspread to burn.
Another contradiction. Steve was not known to be a smoker.
He didn't smoke. He didn't smoke at all. In fact, at one time during a golf banquet, sales meeting, he was offered some very fine cigars by one of the salesmen who were selling some equipment for lawn care, and he refused and told his friend, I don't know why people would even smoke those things.
But if Steve Rico was dead when the fire started, what killed him?
Here's to beating these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Now available Boost Max.
When comfy softness beats meet fragrant scent beats, they blend together to create an incredible feeling beyond cozy called Cozy. New Downy Comfy Cozy breathes life into your laundry.
Asthma. Does it have you missing out on what you love? With who you love? Get back to better breathing with Fasenra, an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma taken once every 8 weeks. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Ask your doctor if Fasenra is right for you.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to see the possibilities all around you. At Capella University, you'll learn relevant skills like developing AI solutions while you earn a bachelor's in IT.
If you feel like you're on the wrong road with your finances, Credit Karma can help you push through to a better place with personalized guidance to improve your credit, savings, taxes, and more so you can find your way to money. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
It started. It's the side hug. Tween milestones like this may start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own, but for others, it can cause certain cancers later in life. Now, as the dad cab, it's my cue to help protect them.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination.
The new bike is officially protected by America's #1 motorcycle insurer. You can now safely go wherever the wind takes us. That's right. It was one of those books that smelled bad, but in a good way, you know? No. Oh, didn't think this through, did you? Nope. You go without me. The owner and I aren't on speaking terms. Apparently the refills are limited. It's not okay.
Good morning with Vocalax. Good morning. Yeah. Try Vocalax Chewy Fruit Bites for fast and gentle constipation relief in as little as 30 minutes. Making your good morning even better with Vocalax.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
If you're an executive, this shirt is a must-have in your closet.
I was tired of floppy collars and shirts with sweat stains, so I got this shirt I saw on TV, and now I don't have to worry about any of that. I got it shipped in no time, and I switched from regular polos to this immediately. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. I got rid of so many problems by upgrading to this. No dry cleaning needed anymore, and I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collars stay stiff all day. Get 20% off using code TV at collarsandco.com.
As investigators continue their look into the mysterious hotel fire that killed Steve Rico, accelerant-sniffing dogs identified a flammable liquid on the bedroom floor at the foot of the bed. But chemical tests on the debris from the hotel room could not identify the accelerant. Therefore, the findings of the accelerant-sniffing dogs would not be admissible in court. Nonetheless, the fire marshal ruled the fire arson. There were empty beer bottles in the hotel room, and Kim said Steve was drinking heavily at dinner. But the autopsy found no alcohol in his system. A background check revealed Steve had over $400,000 worth of life insurance with his wife Kim as the beneficiary. Interestingly, Kim purchased an additional $250,000 policy on Steve's life shortly before he died. Detectives also learned that Kim Rico was having a sexual affair with a man 10 years younger and discovered love letters in Kim's personal papers to prove it. Kim Rico denied she was involved in her husband's death, but admitted the couple was having marital problems. Kim said they went to the resort to work on their marriage. But after the dinner theater performance, the two argued over sex.
Her story was that he wanted to have sex with her that night, and she had turned him down. They had an argument, and she left the scene because of his frustration and his disappointment with her.
And Steve stayed behind. According to Kim, he was drinking, reading a Playboy magazine, and smoking a cigar. But investigators discovered evidence that Kim was seeking to end their 8-year-old marriage, not fix it. Kim was an extrovert, Steve a homebody. And Kim told friends and relatives the two were incompatible.
She kind of played games with him at the end because she told him she was not happy, and I think she told us that she was considering divorce. And then she said that he's got to work on himself. He's got to make improvements. He's got to do a bunch of things. And he did start doing all those things because he did want to save the marriage, and he admitted, okay, I need to spend more time with my family. I need to, if that's what, I do love them. And he started working on all those things. And then she killed him.
Kimberly's coworker informed us that Kimberly had come to him. She believed what he believed in a joking manner, that Kimberly wanted this coworker to kill Stephen.
Still not there.
I got a little job for you.
Oh yeah? What's that?
You found my husband for me.
The coworker thought that she was joking, thought that they had just been having normal marital problems. So the coworker told Kimberly, just laughed and said, oh, why don't you just put him to sleep with succinylcholine, and he'll go to sleep forever.
It may have been an unfortunate joke. Succinylcholine is a drug Kimberly Rico would have had access to as a medical technician. It's used to relax the muscles before placing an intubation tube down a patient's throat. In large doses, it is lethal. Succinylcholine is broken down by human enzymes almost immediately and is therefore untraceable.
Kimberly, being a medical technician, assisted in surgery. And we knew that, and we learned that succinylcholine is on the cart there, but it's not accounted for as narcotic drugs are required to be accounted for.
Steve's autopsy found no traces of succinylcholine. Police contacted laboratories throughout the United States to see if there was a test to find succinylcholine in human tissue, and they found none. Investigators tried to locate the store where Steve purchased the cigars found in the hotel room. Sergeant Joe Gamble visited 26 convenience stores in the vicinity of the Rico's home. In one, he found the same brand of cigars. When the clerk was shown pictures of Steve and Kim Rico, she identified Kim as the one who purchased the cigars and beer.
She remembered she came in and bought a package of cigars and beer. And I asked her, why did you remember that? And the lady told me that she liked the color of Kimberly's hair. Kimberly has red hair. And she asked Kimberly where she had her hair dyed. And Kimberly got very upset with her and told her, this is my natural color. By Kimberly getting upset with the clerk, it embedded in her memory, when she saw the picture, she knew, and she thought it strange that this woman was buying a pack of cigars. She actually identified the same cigar. So at that point, I felt that we had her.
The cigars in Steve's hotel room had a price sticker printed with ink that matched the printing ink used by this convenience store, confirming the cigars were purchased here. But the state's case was very weak without scientific proof that an accelerant was used or that Steve had been injected with succinylcholine.
musty smell.
Oh, damn!
Damn. Oh, damn.
Hey, language.
Damper traps excess moisture to eliminate musty smells. Get rid of the damp with Damp Rid.
Skincare can start in the laundry room. That's why I always recommend All Free Clear for sensitive skin. It's free of dyes and perfume.
It's a key part of my self-care routine and is gentle for my skin and hers too.
For an effective clean that's gentle on skin, all you need is All Free Clear.
Check it out.
Pizza Hut's Cheesy Bites Pizza is a game changer. With 28 cheese-filled bites around the crust, every single bite is a highlight. The Cheesy Bites Pizza, starting at $12.99. Get it on the Pizza Hut app.
At U-Haul, we know every family moves at their own pace.
Is that heavy?
That's why we have U-Box.
I think that's the key.
We can store it
Excited about the new house?
or ship it,
Who's gonna get the biggest room?
how and when you want it. Reserve today at uhaul.com.
Putting people first. It's always been our thing. From the thousands of people who build our cars to the millions of people who depend on them. And right now, when affordability matters most, Hyundai is committed to keeping our prices the same, with no increase to MSRP. And not just on a few of our vehicles, all of them. That's the Hyundai way.
You'll love this. Centrum Silver is clinically proven to support memory in older adults. So you can keep saying, you mastered it. You fixed it. You nailed it. You did it. With Centrum Silver, clinically proven to support memory in older adults.
Bricks up.
You dropped my dishes.
Don't worry, they've got new Dawn Power Suds. It traps, locks, and removes 99% of grease, so it doesn't get passed from dish to dish.
Clean and stacked.
Like ducks in a row, new Dawn Power Suds.
Want a next level clean? Switch with the Whoa of Listerine. It kills 99.9% of bad breath germs for 5 times more cleaning power than brushing and flossing alone. Get a next level clean with Listerine. Feel the Whoa.
What would you pay for an iPad Pro? I only paid $42 on Deal Dash.
DealDash.com. Online auction since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. And this smart charcoal grill sold for $16. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Deals like these and many more happen in the thousands of daily auctions on DealDash.com. All auctions start at $0. And remember, everything must go.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56.
I got this barbecue smoker for 26 bucks.
And you get a 90-day money-back guarantee with your first purchase.
This brand new iPhone sold for less than $42. And this DJI drone sold for less than $21.
I got it for 16 bucks on Deal Dash.
And shipping is always free.
Go to DealDash.com right now and see how much you can save.
There are auctions going on right now. So what are you waiting for?
She's married a man that she loved, and then she went about a cold, calculating way to kill this man in his prime of life. Leads me to believe that she's one of the most cold-blooded murderers that I've been involved with.
32-year-old Kimberly Rico was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and arson in the death of her husband. She pleaded not guilty. With no way to prove succinylcholine was in Steve's body and no scientific evidence an accelerant was used to start the fire, prosecutors were forced to use a process of conclusion by exclusion. They had to rule out all other possibilities for how the fire started in an effort to convince the jury that Steve Rico was murdered.
This was a healthy young man who was in his mid-30s, worked as an outdoor person, very fit, who had died suddenly, unexpectedly. There was absolutely no medical disease process or natural disease process that was identifiable in his death, and that he was in fact not intoxicated, and in fact he had died before the fire. And so, from my point of view, I could come up with a large list of exclusions, which led me to believe that in fact he had been poisoned with succinylcholine or some similar type of agent, which we could not trace.
Prosecutors believe Kimberly Rico planned her husband's murder long in advance. The evidence? The purchase of the additional $250,000 worth of life insurance. the purchase of the beer and cigars, and her sexual affair with another man.
What we were able to hear in court was many of her friends testified because she spoke to several of her friends and told them her plans to kill Mr. Rico. Some in detail. A couple of her friends, she told in detail of her plans.
Prosecutors believe Kim confiscated a vial of succinylcholine from the hospital where she worked. After the murder mystery performance, Kim waited for Steve to go to sleep. Then injected him with a lethal dose of succinylcholine. She then staged the scene to make it look like an accident. She placed empty beer bottles in a trash can and on the nightstand. She moved Stephen's body to the floor and placed a Playboy magazine and the cigars nearby. She pulled her husband's t-shirt over his head, used an accelerant identified by the accelerant-sniffing dogs, and started the fire. There was no carbon monoxide in Steve's bloodstream or any sign of smoke inhalation, proof that Steve was dead before the fire started, and there was no alcohol found in his system. Tests would reveal that the cigar was not enough to ignite the flame retardant fibers of the pillowcase alone. Kim left the resort to create an alibi and returned around 1:30 a.m. and reported the fire to hotel employees. The motive: Kim wanted to get rid of her husband so she would be free to pursue the relationship with her lover. The defense argued that Stephen Rico's death could have been caused by the fire, and that his lack of consciousness might have been caused by the accumulation of chemicals he inhaled through his work at the golf course. The jury found Kim Rico guilty of first-degree murder and first-degree arson. She was sentenced to life in prison.
Without the science, Stephen Rico probably would have been buried, and we would have all thought this was just a horrible, tragic fire death, and his case probably would have been labeled accidental death, and he would have been buried, and nobody would have ever known.
Just to know that his life was valued, and nobody deserves such a thing. And he was a very good man, and most of all, he was a good father, and he loved his family, and we loved him very much, and we're very proud of him, and I'd give anything to have him back.
Since this case went to trial, scientists at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden and now in the United States have developed protocols enabling the identification of succinylcholine even in embalmed tissue. One of the many scientific forensic advances that occur almost daily. On a warm summer evening in 1980, a young married couple took their horses out for a leisurely ride through the woods. One of the horses bucked and threw the rider. The autopsy confirmed it was an accident, but the family wasn't so sure. Hillsdale County, Michigan, population just over 40,000. This is farm country, soybeans and corn mostly, a hospitable place where friends drop in unexpectedly, and there's always room for one more at the dinner table. 25-year-old Shannon Moore was a quiet, unassuming young woman who grew up in nearby Toledo, Ohio.
She was a very good student in school, and she said when she was in first grade, because she went to Catholic school, I'll be a nun or I'll be a nurse. And she became a nurse.
In September of 1979, Shannon Moore met an eligible bachelor from Hillsdale County, 36-year-old David Davis. The two met at a friend's wedding.
Shannon said, Mom, I met this real nice man. And he told me he was a millionaire. He has farms all over the United States and in Belize.
I thought the world of him from the very beginning. He was just a kind of a rugged outdoor type person, liked to fish and hunt. I thought he was good to my daughter, and that's the only thing that I cared about.
And I said to her, Shannon, if you let this one get away from you, you're nuts.
After an 8-week courtship, Shannon and David married and moved to David's Michigan farm. It seemed to be the ideal place to raise a family. They bought 2 Tennessee walking horses, which were recommended because of their gentle nature. On July 23, 1980, 10 months after the wedding, Shannon and David rode their horses to see their neighbor, Dick Britton. Dick was having a problem with some farm machinery, so David spent time helping him.
We worked probably half an hour on his tool. Then Shannon come up and asked me about taking our boy Norman home with him. And I went to turn around and tell her, sure, go ahead and take him. And Dave said, no, you can come get him in the morning. You know, Shannon had asked me the question, but he had answered. And so I dropped it.
David and Shannon then mounted their horses and left. Instead of going back the way they came, they took a shortcut through the woods. A short time later, David raced out of the woods back to Dick Britton's farm.
Dick, don't play. He come riding back, and he had blood on his shirt. He was sweaty, perspiring hard, like he'd been in a fight or something. Kind of half fell off his horse and said that Shannon had fell off her horse and she was hurt bad.
David said that Shannon's horse had bolted. He said she fell and hit her head on a rock. Shannon was lying on her back. Her eyes were closed. There was blood on the back of her head. Shannon's blouse was undone, and her sneakers were off, which Britton thought was unusual. Shannon was rushed to the nearest hospital.
I was blowing the horn, tooting as loud as I could, and this nurse come running out, and I says, we need a doctor. I said, I'll run to the front and tell him she's hurt bad.
Shannon's lifeless body was wheeled into the emergency room, where doctors checked for vital signs. There weren't any. The time of death was arbitrarily set at 8:45 p.m. The wound in the back of Shannon's head and the x-rays taken at the hospital were consistent with David's explanation that she had fallen from her horse and hit her head. Her death certificate listed the cause of death as multiple cranial and cervical spine injuries. Since Shannon died in one county and was declared dead in another, no autopsy was performed because of a jurisdictional mix-up. That failure would later come back to haunt Shannon's family.
It's been a few weeks since Garrison passed. When grief hits me, I can't run from it.
It took him passing to get everybody together, and that just is heartbreaking.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to see the possibilities all around you. With Capella University, a different future could be closer than you think.
If you feel held back by the weight of financial decisions, we can give you the tools to help you break free. Credit Karma gives you personalized guidance to improve your credit, savings, taxes, and more, so you can find your way to money. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
Perfecting your swing is hard.
Nice shot, man.
But replacing your windshield doesn't have to be. Go to safelight.com and schedule a replacement today.
Neutrogena Ultra Sheer with Helioplex protection absorbs so well, it's easy to forget you're wearing it.
Did I?
You did.
Yes, you did.
Sunscreen you can't feel.
Why can't we say we're the best home shopping site? Because while true, you just can't say that legally. What if we said it in Spanish?
Homes.com es el mejor.
No. What if he said it?
Homes.com. It's the best.
Homes.com.
It's the best.
Arthritis causes pain in your joints. Unlike pills, Voltaren gel is applied at the site of pain, penetrating deep through the skin to the joint, reducing intense pain and stiffness, so you can move more freely. Voltaren, clinically proven, long-lasting arthritis pain relief.
It's Pod's biggest sale in history. Save up to 30% on moving and storage until May 19th. And see why Pods is America's #1 container moving company. Whether you're relocating or renovating, save up to 30% at pods.com today.
If you're an executive, this shirt is a must-have in your closet.
I was tired of floppy collars and shirts with sweat stains, so I got this shirt I saw on TV, and now I don't have to worry about any of that. I got it shipped in no time, and I switched from regular polos to this immediately. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. I got rid of so many problems by upgrading to this. No dry cleaning needed anymore, and I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collar stays stiff all day. Get 20% off using code TV at collarsandco.com.
With Core Imprint, you get more than promo products. You get the certainty of personal service, design expertise, and unmatched quality to make your moment shine. Be 4Imprint certain at 4imprint.com.
4Imprint for certain. Dealdash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to Dealdash.com and see how much you can save.
For 24 hours straight, 24 chefs face 24 culinary showdowns, and no chef escapes the clock. All new 24 and 24, Last Chef Standing, Sunday night at 8 on Food Network.
Shannon Moore had two lifelong dreams. The first, to become a nurse. The other, to raise a family. She graduated from nursing school and had been married less than a year. Her dreams for a family would never be fulfilled because of a freak horseback riding accident which took her life at 26. When Shannon's parents, Lucille and Bob Moore, arrived at the hospital, her husband, David Davis, was in the hall crying. They all instinctively hugged each other, just as they always did.
He grabbed me, and as he grabbed me, he ran his hand under my face, and I looked, and there was 3 deep scratches. And I mean deep scratches.
Mom, please God.
Shannon's father had other concerns. David insisted that Shannon's body be cremated. As a Catholic, Bob Moore was opposed. The Moore family wanted to take Shannon's body back to Ohio to bury her there. At that point, Dick Britton stepped in.
You know, her mother was crying and Bob was crying, so I stood right up and yelled at him. I said, Dave, that's her folks. I said, nobody knows her out here. I said, let them take her back to Toledo and bury her there. I said, there are people who come to her grave and put flowers on it. I said, she don't know anybody here. And he backed down and said, okay.
The next day, deputies from the Hillsdale County Sheriff's Department visited the scene of the accident. They found the bloody rock, the only rock for some distance around. Not far away were Shannon's untied sneakers lying about 5 feet apart. And there was an area where the grass had been matted down.
Then looked around a little bit, took a few pictures, and left. And I asked them about the shoes, and they said, no, you can have them.
Over the next several days, the Moores made arrangements to bury their daughter. David's parents, whom the Moores had never met, came to the funeral. And what they had to say made it clear that everything David had told the Moores about his past was a lie. He was not a millionaire. He didn't own farms all over the country. And even more shocking was the fact that he had been married before and had 2 daughters. The Moores believed their daughter's death was no accident. Dick Britton had come to the same conclusion because of something Davis had said the day after Shannon's death.
So the next morning we're sitting at my table and he wants to know about the neighbor. He said, does the neighbor still want to sell his farm? And I said, huh? And he said, never mind. And I'm thinking, How can you be thinking of buying a farm the next morning after your wife died?
A week after Shannon's death, Dick Britton and the Moores took their suspicions to the Hillsdale County Sheriff's Office. The Moores discovered that Davis had taken out insurance policies on Shannon's life totaling $330,000 during the 10 months they were married. The Moores demanded an autopsy, and Shannon's body was exhumed a month after her death. The autopsy revealed a 3¼ inch gash on the back of Shannon's head, along with bruises on her upper back, left shoulder, her upper right arm, right hand, and left cheekbone. But they found no evidence of foul play. The coroner concluded that Shannon died of the head injury. The sheriff's department considered the case closed.
Believe it or not, yes, when they first brought her up and said there was no evidence, I thought they're missing something. There has to be. And I knew then we had to keep going one way or another because something was wrong.
The Moores weren't the only ones who were suspicious. Billy Bowles, a reporter for the Detroit Free Press, uncovered some devastating information on David Davis, painting him as a consummate liar who lived off money gained from suspicious insurance claims. One claim was for a questionable fire on a farm Davis once owned.
The vacant farmhouse burned, and he collected about $30,000 insurance for that. The barn burned mysteriously while he was away, and he collected $6,000 for that. In addition to those, he had left a job at Chrysler after a very suspicious injury, and he was collecting workman's compensation and Social Security for that.
Bowles' investigation revealed, among other things, that Davis had studied pharmacology in college. Armed with this new information, the Moore family asked the state's attorney general to open a new investigation. Shannon's autopsy revealed she died of a single blow to her head. Detective Don Brooks had two theories.
Number one, this young lady actually fell from a horse and struck the only rock around, squarely. And it really is an accident. Or number two, he killed her. And the only way, in my opinion, for him to get her in a position where he could slam her head into that rock was to have her completely immobilized. So we wanted to look at the possibility that she was drugged at the time, something that would paralyze her, but leave her heart still pumping and she's still alive.
With Davis's background in pharmacology, police asked local veterinarians what drugs farmers use with their animals that can cause paralysis. One of the drugs mentioned was a powerful muscle relaxant named succinylcholine, used in animal surgery. It's also used in humans. In large doses, succinylcholine can be fatal. But there was a problem. Succinylcholine is broken down in the body almost immediately and is therefore undetectable. If this was the drug David Davis used on Shannon, he had gotten away with murder.
Even if your team's been vaccinated in the past, they could still be missing vaccination against certain groups of meningitis. The bacteria can spread through certain everyday behaviors, like sharing a drink. Is your team missing any meningitis vaccinations? Ask their doctor today.
Here's to getting better with age.
Cheers to feeding these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Now available Boost Max.
When you want to feel clean and soft, try new Dial Healthy Hydration Body Wash with skin-friendly ingredients. It deeply cleans and hydrates in one shower for confidence to get closer. Dial up your clean.
Asthma. Does it have you missing out on what you love with who you love? It's time to get back out there with Fasenra. Fasenra is an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma that is taken once every 8 weeks and can also be taken conveniently at home.
Fasenra helps prevent asthma attacks. Most patients did not have an attack in the first year. Fasenra is proven to help you breathe better, so you can get back to doing day-to-day activities. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Get back to better breathing. Get back to what you've missed. Ask your doctor about Fasenra, the only asthma treatment taken once every 8 weeks. If you can't afford your medication, AstraZeneca may be able to help.
At Mayfair, we get pretty excited about furniture. Around here, it's not a patio, it's a patio.
Oh, I love those chairs.
Shedtastic.
It rocks.
My queen.
Yeah?
Oh, I'm at the bed.
Girl, you nailed it! No, this set is just a couple of screws.
They're a perfect combo. They got a fire pit.
Mayfair, every style, every home. Holiday Row. Wherever your summer takes you, twist the ride. With Twizzlers, the twist you can't resist.
When you really philosophize about it, there's one thing you don't have enough of, and that's time. Time is a truly scarce commodity. When you come to that realization, I think it's very important to spend time wisely. And what better way of spending time than traveling, continuing to educate ourselves and broaden our minds.
Viking, exploring the world in comfort.
What did you do?
I saved her.
It doesn't matter if you have a cold like me. Some things are just wrong.
You swore.
In the 7 months since Shannon Moore's death, her husband David Davis sold his Michigan farm and moved to the Bahamas, where he lived on his sailboat with his new girlfriend. Davis was waiting for the conclusion of Shannon's investigation so that he could collect the $330,000 from her life insurance policies. Although the autopsy was consistent with Davis's version of her death, the crime scene wasn't. Davis said he and Shannon were riding back to their farm when Shannon's horse bucked, threw her to the ground, and her head hit a rock. But the rock she hit was the only one within 100 yards. For some unexplained reason, Shannon's blouse was unbuttoned and her shoes were removed and placed a few yards away. The grass was matted around the body. Police wondered whether Davis might have injected Shannon with some kind of paralyzing agent like succinylcholine before her death. There was no known test to identify succinylcholine. But local scientists heard about a new test developed in Sweden, which was having some success finding succinylcholine even in embalmed tissue. Dr. Robert Forney and Tom Carroll took Shannon's tissues to the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. It took a team of toxicologists several weeks of trial and error just to extract a sample they could test.
We were working 10-hour days, working on trying to get the method perfected. And once we got the method perfected, then we started analyzing all of Shannon's tissues.
The tests were conducted with a mass spectrometer which bombards chemical molecules with ions, shattering them into their molecular components. The fragmentation creates a chemical fingerprint that can be compared to other chemical fingerprints to determine the unknown's identity. After weeks of testing and hundreds of tests, scientists finally got a break.
I looked over at one corner, and in that one corner was one piece of paper. And on that piece of paper was a perfect mass spectra of succinylcholine. And that piece of paper was identified to have come from Shannon's tissues.
When prosecutors in Michigan learned the news, they were elated, but they didn't feel it was enough. They wanted more evidence and needed to know where Davis had injected her. As a result, for the second time, Shannon's body was exhumed.
The vast majority of the injuries sustained by Shannon were on the left side of her body. Her left shoulder, her left back, and the left side of her head, which would indicate a fall to the left and then falling on your left. On her right side, however, there was a bruise in the upper quadrant of the right arm and also on the hand.
Dr. Forney took tissue samples from all the bruise sites and returned to Sweden. He discovered that Shannon's right wrist and upper arm had much higher concentrations of succinylcholine than her other tissues, an indication that Davis had injected her twice. Based on that evidence, David Davis was finally charged with Shannon Moore's murder. When police went to arrest Davis, he was nowhere to be found. The search for Davis dragged on for months, and then years.
I am 37, 35, I'm 42.
34,
and I'm a virgin.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to need all the help I can get. I'm not sure I can even have sex.
Ronnie 3-ply?
Only Ronnie has 3 plies. It's new and it's stronger than Bounty. Some of the strongest.
Sadly, windshield chips can turn into windshield cracks. But at least you can go to SafeLight.com and schedule a fix in minutes.
Sweet.
SafeLight can come to you for free. Don't wait. Go to SafeLight.com and schedule now.
With Dupixent, stay ahead of moderate to severe eczema as you welcome the feeling of touch with clearer skin and less itch. The #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists and allergists helps heal your skin from within. Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain, vision changes, or blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma or other medicines without talking to your doctor. Ask your doctor about Dupixent.
Nia loves to run, but diabetes almost took that away. With Dexcom G7, she's learned so much about managing her diabetes that she's able to do cross country this year. I think she can do anything.
They know I can.
Choose Advil liquid gels for faster, stronger, and longer-lasting relief than Tylenol rapid release gels. Because Advil targets pain at the source of inflammation. So for faster pain relief, Advil, the pain away.
You love our legendary subs, so you'll love our legendary new Doritos footlong nachos. Doritos and Subway, 2 legends come together to...
Legends eating legends. Am I right?
Yes, thank you, Marshawn. Doritos footlong nachos, just $5, only at Subway.
I'm into comedy. I'm also into flambéing. What I'm not into is heartburn. That's why I take Voquezna.
Here in Keenan's stomach, Voquezna can kick some acid and relieve heartburn related to non-erosive GERD.
Voquezna is the first and only FDA-approved treatment of its kind.
And it heals erosive esophagitis known as erosive GERD.
Ooh la la.
93% of adults with erosive GERD were healed by 2 months. Of those healed, 79% stayed healed. Plus, Voquezna can provide heartburn-free days and nights. Other serious stomach conditions may exist. Don't take if allergic to Voquezna or while on rilpivirine. Serious allergic reactions include trouble breathing, rash, itching, and swelling of face, lips, tongue, or throat. Serious side effects may include kidney problems, intestinal infection, fractures, life-threatening skin reactions, low B12 or magnesium levels, and stomach growths. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions, medications, and if you have diarrhea, persistent stomach pain or fever, decreased or bloody urine, seizures, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, jitteriness, chills, shortness of breath, muscle aches or weakness, spasms of hands, feet, or voice.
Voquezna can help kick some acid, and so can you.
Ask your doctor about Voquezna.
Police believe that David Richard Davis murdered his wife by injecting her with a lethal drug, making the death look like a horseback riding accident. The drug he allegedly used was believed to be undetectable, but a team of determined toxicologists found it. For 8.5 years, Davis eluded police before they finally got a break. A story about Shannon's murder appeared on network television. An old girlfriend of Davis's called police with a tip.
She called and she wanted to tell me about an individual that she thought could be David Davis. She knew him by a different name. However, she was very, very reluctant to get involved. She was in fear of her own life.
The caller revealed that Davis was living in American Samoa with a Samoan wife under the name David Meyer Bell. In the 8 years since Shannon's death, he had lived in California, Alaska, and Hawaii. The FBI arrested Davis, and he returned to Michigan for trial.
We know that he courted and dated several women before Shannon and asked each of them to marry him in an extremely short period of time, something like 14 months. He asked 5 different women to marry him. The first one who said yes became his victim.
Bloomer said the motive was money, and that the murder was premeditated. Prosecutors believe that after the couple left Dick Britton's farm, Davis coaxed Shannon off her horse under the pretext of having sex. The couple had a habit of making love outdoors. As Shannon took off her shoes and unbuttoned her blouse, prosecutors believe Davis snuck up behind her and injected the succinylcholine in the shoulder. The injection didn't take effect immediately. The two fought, knocking down the grass. He then hit Shannon on the head with the rock and injected her again, this time in the wrist. The dose killed her instantly.
If you are given an injection of succinylcholine outside of the hospital where they can help you breathe by a respirator, you'll die of suffocation, and that's exactly what happened to Shannon Davis. I believe that the succinylcholine answered the ever-present question in the jury's mind, and that was, if she didn't die from being thrown off a horse, then what killed her?
The jury deliberated for 2.5 hours.
My heart was pounding so hard, and I thought, it's over. We've got him.
David Davis was found guilty of first-degree murder.
I remember the courtroom was just full of burst and applause, and instead of standing around and shaking hands, and I had to leave. I had to leave the courtroom. There was a law library right off the courtroom, and I had to get there. And, it was pretty emotional.
He was sentenced to life in prison.
I know we went out to the cemetery right afterwards, and we looked down and said, we got him. He was that good of a liar, so that I shouldn't feel too bad that he fooled us. But I think I heard living with a killer all that time, 10 months, and I didn't know it. And I also think I should have picked something out, and I didn't.
The surf and sand of Central Florida make this a popular vacation spot. But the area lost some of its luster in 1995 when a serial killer set up shop. After the 4th body was discovered, police knew an important detail about the killer. He had an unusual dog with an unusual drug habit. Tampa, Florida is known not only as a tourist destination, but it also has more thunderstorms than any other location in the United States. The name Tampa is derived from the Calusa Native American word meaning lightning. Along with the tourism, there's prostitution. On October 20th, 1995, a pizza delivery driver discovered the nude body of a white woman in nearby Clearwater. 42-year-old Wendy Evans was a crack cocaine addict recently released from a mental health clinic. She was last seen hitchhiking in an area frequented by prostitutes. Wendy had been beaten and strangled, but there were no signs of sexual assault. The body had been dumped, meaning she had been killed elsewhere. Not surprisingly, a thunderstorm washed away possible evidence.
All the small artifacts that we would ordinarily hope to find on someone with clothing on, we were doubtful we were going to get